All right, guys, we are back with another teaching video. Today, we are going to talk about the iron swing versus the driver swing. There's a lot of big differences. I got my man, Eric Cogorno, with us.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep, and we are going to be talking about iron swing versus driver swing. Let's get right into this. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into this so people know who you are, because I've watched your videos. You know a lot about the golf swing and I'm constantly learning. And you're gonna offer me a lot of advice today just on the iron swing versus the driver swing, and I'm gonna pick up a lot from you. So tell them a little bit about yourself and just...
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. So I've been teaching golf for the past like 15, 16 years, which is crazy to think about that long. I've been teaching golf for a long time, been doing YouTube videos for probably the past 8 or 9. And just really trying to help people hit the ball a little bit better and enjoy the game more.
Right. And guys, if you haven't checked him out, we will link all of his stuff down in the description. But let's get right into this, Eric. So iron swing versus driver swing. Obviously, right away, the driver's teed up, the iron's on the ground. So there's going to be that very visual, easy difference that you're going to see right off the bat. But just for like, you know, setting up to the ball, feelings. I know you were just talking about the iron versus the driver, just how they even set up to the ball. Let's talk a little bit about the iron swing versus driver swing, what the main differences are.
So I think there's like 2 or 3 big keys here with the iron swing versus the driver swing. Why don't we show that little setup piece first, like we talked about, and then we'll kind of dive in there. So if let's flip flop spots, Grant. So if I'm in here taking a setup and I hold an iron right down on the ground and I just lay it flat on the ground, the angle of the club of the iron is going to naturally sit a bit more vertical, a bit higher. Whereas if I put my driver on the ground, just kind of flat, you notice that the angle of that is much lower, right? If I brought them even with each other. So the clubs are designed different. Right? So for the players watching, a lot of times we'll see a golfer who kind of falls into 1 of 2 categories. Maybe you're pretty good with your irons, but I'm not that good with my driver. Or like, hey, I'm really good with my driver, but I struggle to take a divot and hit the ball off the ground. And we're going to show you why some of that is. Grant, if you want to take a setup with an iron. So with that said, we'll get back to that and show you a main drill. But with the iron, right, our goal here with the ball on the ground is to hit ball first, ground second.
Take a little divot.
Take a little divot. So like for your setup, how do you feel in terms of ball position, weight distribution with your iron?
So for an iron, starting off here, I got an 8 iron, I'm going to have a lot more weight on my left to start. So it's going to be probably a 70-30 for me. I really like to feel a lot of weight on my left side to start because I want to return to this position where I started. Weight left, obviously ball first, then the divot. So a lot of weight left here to start. Ball position is going to be more in the center of my stance. This is an 8 iron. It's probably going to be directly in the center of my stance with an 8 iron. So weight left, ball position in the center, and then the tilt of my shoulders. That's a huge one. That's going to be a big difference that we're going to talk about with the driver. Is it's not really going to be like this as much. It's going to be pretty much leveled off, maybe a little bit lower with the right, just because your right arm is always going to be lower than your left. And then from there, it's kind of just, I'll hit one here.
Hit one with that iron first, then we'll show you some driver pieces.
Perfect. So I got an 8 iron here, weight left.
Solid as per normal. And that's what we're going for, right, when we're hitting the iron is balls on the ground, want to strike ball first, ground second. Grant, can you set up towards her here for a second, kind of facing this way to show the same things? So when you guys are hitting an iron, if we want to hit down and hit ball first, the ball is going to be a bit more middle, like Grant said. You know, the weight and the handle. That's
something we didn't really touch on. And that's also going to be slightly more ahead versus a driver. It's probably going to be just even with. With an iron, it's going to be a little bit more ahead to start here.
So you just want to preset things to give you that descending blow. And you'll notice with that, with the ball position then, if we drew a straight line up, it's probably kind of right underneath Grant's like ear. So it's kind of middle or just forward of middle. Now, if we flip that and we did a driver, if we kind of face this way for a second with the driver, let's show them a face-on driver setup for a minute.
Let's move on to this here.
So notice the difference. Obviously, the ball position is going to be a bit more forward.
Inside the left heel with the driver. And then
what do you feel weight distribution-wise, Grant?
So I'm going to be like a 50-50. I like a 50-50 setup. Not really weight on my left, not on my right. But what I'm going to do, ball position is going to be inside the heel here. We're going to have some tilt in the shoulders versus the iron swing. We had them pretty level. Then we're going to have some tilt here to hit up on it. So this shoulder is going to be lower then my left shoulder. So here we go, tilt, ball position forward, and then weight 50-50 from there.
And you'll notice a big key with the driver, if we kind of look at that golf ball line, the head is back behind the ball.
Yep.
So think driver, head always behind the ball, whereas with the iron, the head's kind of right more over the golf ball.
Yeah, and you're kind of covering a little bit more. With the driver, you're kind of coming in with a little more side bend here, a little more tilt behind it.
So let's do, you want to hit a driver out here like this, and then we'll go through some of the 1 or 2 drills here for you.
Okay, so we saw the iron shot there, hit down. Obviously, we took a very, very small divot, but the ball was first, then the ground. We were kind of hitting on a descending blow. So now we're going to be hitting up on this ball, trying to launch it high. It's going to require that head to stay back, like Eric said. Try and stay back a little bit with the head.
Yeah, looks great.
Yep. There we go. Fade off the left. It's about as good as I can hit it there.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there.
Yeah.
So obviously we all want to swing like Grant, and maybe you are on one end of the spectrum or the other, but if you want to learn how to hit your driver in particular, Grant, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a golfer who's pretty good with your irons. Maybe you hit your pitching wedge, 9 iron, 8 iron pretty good, but gosh, as the clubs get longer and into the driver, you really struggle. Going back to the beginning point about the angle of the club.
Right.
Okay. If the driver, let's take your setup there, Grant. If the driver shaft is naturally on a lower angle, that means we want to swing that club a bit more around, more around us.
Right.
With the iron swing, that might be a bit more up and down.
Yeah, the iron swing, the handle's kind of up here. We're coming in more vertical in this way. Driver's a lot more rounded off, like you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, cool. How do we do that?
Right.
And a really easy way and drill to do it. Let's hold the club up parallel to the ground.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a couple part drill here. Swing 1 is you just hold the club parallel to the ground, swing around your body, and then we're going to slowly lower on each swing about a foot on each one until gradually we get down to the golf ball. But let's start about parallel to the ground. So just kind of behind your right shoulder, behind your left shoulder, Grant.
Yeah.
Around, kind of more baseball, right?
Yeah. It is cool because you can really see how your arm structure looks too when you're up this high.
Yeah.
You bring it down a little bit, same thing.
Around.
See when you're coming in, if the face is square, same feeling.
Yeah. And just on each swing or two, you just lower it a couple of inches until you get basically like just above the golf ball, and you're retaining that same feel around.
Yeah. So now, because I mean, like we always see, golfers are coming over the top, and when you're feeling this, it feels like I'm coming more from the inside here and round it off.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's easier to swing out to the right.
And if you want to hit a driver level to the ground or slightly up, like Grant, do the iron swing where you're swinging way up and down.
Yep.
And now Matt, keep the driver in your hands.
Yep.
But show us the bad, like real vertical up and down. So like if we go way up like this, how in the heck could you hit that real shallow?
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to hit up on that?
Very difficult.
The only way, if you're super high like this, you're going to have a ton of side bend and back off of it just to get a little bit of a launch angle. But yeah, that's a huge, and like you said, Eric, I've met so many people that are really good iron players.
Yeah.
Like they love hitting their irons and they dread hitting their driver. And there's those two big setup differences like we talked about. You've gotta, when you set up to this golf ball with a driver, we've got to have those checkpoints in place. For me, it's going to be a lot of setup talk and also a lot of feels with Eric here. So with the driver swing, ball position, inside the heel like we've talked about, tilt with the shoulders here. Right shoulder's going to be lower. And then we're going to feel that head stay back. I'm going to hit one here.
Yep.
I want to feel that head.
And a little more round too, Grant. Feel
exactly.
A little more round.
Yeah.
Yep.
Feel a little more rounded. Just kind of like that drill Eric just had me do.
Yeah.
I want to feel that turn, that little bit of a flatter shoulder turn.
That's nice right there, man. Gosh.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's cool to see. I mean, in person, you hit it even better, I think, than I've seen in some of those videos. So like that setup piece, right? If you can set up with the tilt.
Yep.
Right? And learn to swing more around.
Right.
If you're someone who hits your irons good but not driver, that's going to really, really help.
I feel like we just got to acknowledge that the driver swing is different than the iron swing. And you have to make those changes that we're talking about because, like I said, there's going to be people that are really good with their irons, but then when they get to their driver, they're not necessarily making the changes needed to hit a driver because it is not the same. It's teed up. you got to hit up slightly on it. Let's hit an iron here.
Yeah. And that head difference is key, guys. Like, if you, the setup, like part 1, get the setup correct, driver, iron. Part 2, right, with the driver more around, and then the whole time with the driver. If there's a lineup from the golf ball, you have to learn how to start with your head back, keep it back, keep it back. Whereas with the iron, you'll see Grant, there's some much more movement forward.
Yes, exactly,
right?
To get that strike in front of it. Yeah. Now this is going to be completely different now. I'm going to set up to this a lot different than we just explained with the driver. I'm going to set up a lot different here with the iron swing than we just showed with the driver. I'm going to get over it. My weight's going to be more left, like we said. Handle is going to be a little bit more forward because we want to strike it with those hands ahead at impact. Shoulders are more level. And from there, ball position is in the center of the stance. This is an 8 iron. Make my normal swing, but I'm going to feel that weight go left. There we go.
And just one quick thing I want to add there, Grant.
That was a good strike.
When you guys are watching and the point of like, is the iron swing or driver swing the same or different?
Yeah.
They are different.
Right.
They're different. But they're a lot different from like the setup being different and the intent of the downswing. But like if someone's working on a takeaway feel or wrist down, whatever they're doing, a lot of that will stay the same.
Right.
Those are universal. But like macro wise, if you can set up different and understand that little swing plane piece, I think that'll help a lot of people.
For sure. Yeah. Hopefully that helped you guys out there understanding the difference between a driver versus an iron swing, because like I said, there's a big difference and you're going to need to know the setup differences. But guys, we're going to link all of Eric's stuff in the description. Make sure you go check that out. He's got a lot of great instructional stuff. That's why we had him on here. I loved his stuff. He's super knowledgeable. It's going to help you guys out a lot. So go check that out. But also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you go subscribe. Click that little notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out. Till next time, guys. Peace.